Hi everybody, my name is Vittorio Arengo and I'm marketing for cloud at VMware. Today I'm excited because I get to do one of my favorite things, which is to listen and learn from our own customers. As you know, VMware multi-cloud offering not only includes partnership with cloud providers such as AWS, Microsoft, Google, IBM Cloud, and Oracle, but we have over 4,500 cloud providers around the globe offering specialized cloud services to meet our customers' cloud computing requirements. One example of this partner is Expedient, a key partner to VMware for many, many years. As a matter of fact, they were the cloud partner of the years for 2018. And one of Expedient's customers is here with me today. So I'd like to welcome to today's program, Mike Sullivan, VP and CIO of Bob Evans Farms. Mike?
Thank you, Vittorio. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
So Mike, do you want to introduce yourself and the company?
Sure. As Vittorio said, my name is Mike Sullivan. I'm the Chief Information Officer at Bob Evans Farms. We are a member company of Post Holdings, Inc. About 2 years ago, we were purchased by Post, and we had previously separated from the Bob Evans restaurant. So many of you that are familiar with the brand Bob Evans may think of the restaurants, but we are the company that makes, distributes, and sells food products into the grocery channels. So our company produces over 400 million pounds of sausage products, refrigerated side dishes, mashed potatoes, mac and cheese, liquid egg products, cheese, and other convenience items for the grocery consumer.
Fantastic. And so let's start by talking about how you use VMware today, how long have you been using VMware on-prem, and what do you do with it?
Well, you know, I've been with Bob Evans for 28 years, and as I was asking my team how long we've been using VMware, certainly I can, we've been using as long as I can remember. I think we were probably one of your very first customers. In some shape or form, we've been using VMware to manage our workloads, since the early 2000s. That has grown over the years, and at this point, we're managing most of our core and enterprise workloads in the VMware environment.
And so tell me about how you started your journey to the cloud, when you started, and especially why.
Well, it all started with email. I think, a lot of people make their first venture into the cloud with email. So we ported over our Microsoft Outlook Exchange environment into the cloud about 3 or 4 years ago. We went through a pretty significant technology refresh back in 2015, and we were supporting equipment and infrastructure in 2 data centers. And so as we were looking at the options that we had ahead of us, we were either going to need to refresh that equipment, which would be a major investment, or we could also start looking at cloud offerings. So about 2 years ago, we really started in earnest looking at our options as it related to the cloud. We took inventory of all of our servers and started to do some high-level, cost estimates of what that might look like, and ultimately decided that would be the best option for us. So, as I think about the business drivers behind that, probably the biggest one was to make sure that we were eliminating as much technical debt as possible. But beyond that, we knew that we would gain resiliency from this type of a move, giving us better disaster recovery protection, and then also making us more scalable and agile as it relates to any significant business changes, giving us the ability to more quickly scale up or scale down, as the business needs dictate.
That makes sense. And how did you select Expedient and why, as your cloud provider?
Yeah, that's a good question. So as we were looking at our options, one of the things about Expedient that really attracted us was the VMware offering. Because of our heavy application presence in the VM solution in our prior environment, the thought that we could port over those applications without having to refactor was very attractive to us. So we saw it as an opportunity, to reduce risk through that type of a transition. And then, just researching Expedient, learning to know their people, understanding the quality work that they do, the reputation that they have, it made it a pretty common sense move for us to move in that direction.
So basically using the VMware Cloud Foundation, storage, computing from VMware on-prem, then Expedient offered you the same type of environment in the cloud. So it made it an easy transition for you to do that. So just to get a sense of the footprint, how big of a footprint you have in your IT environment in terms of number of applications and VMs and like things like that?
Sure. Well, if you count our enterprise application as one, our number of applications is right around 40. When we transitioned into the Expedient platform, between our Linux and Windows environments, we did just under 150 in that transition. So that covers all of our environments, production and non-production. So it was a pretty significant shift. Really, the only thing we didn't move into the Expedient platform was the on-premise requirement that we have in our manufacturing and some of our remote locations where we need that on-prem presence and infrastructure there on site.
And so your cloud migration kind of took an acceleration path like earlier this year, right? Something like that.
It did, yeah. We started negotiating with Expedient about a year ago. We kicked off the project in February and then we executed in July.
So Mike, can you talk about the actual migration? So how you set it up and how you executed and what was the impact on the business?
Yeah, sure. So, as I stated, we took inventory early on, and then we were in the process of rationalizing servers that were no longer in use, before we really kicked off with Expedient. But then once we started, it was just basically working side by side with the Expedient team to understand how we would group the applications and the workloads that needed to stay together through the process. We then identified the grouping of non-production servers and we migrated those first. That took place in June. And then there was about a 5-week period where we tested those non-production workloads. And then we actually created a bubble a couple of weeks before the transition where we put our production workloads into what Expedient helped us, they called it a bubble. And it allowed us to test, although we didn't test to the outside. But that process really built our confidence through the transition. It helped us essentially have 2 dress rehearsals or mock transitions to give our team confidence when they actually had to work through the final production transition. And that process worked very well for us and ultimately led to a weekend production cutover. We started at 8 p.m. on a Friday. All of the workloads were moved over into the Expedient cloud by, I think, 6 p.m. on Saturday. And then that gave us an opportunity to test and make sure everything was ready before turning the system back over to the business at 8 p.m. on Sunday. So within 48 hours, we were fully cut over. And then, we were pretty confident that everything was taken care of because we had tested everything. We had a very exhaustive test plan. And on Monday morning, we had a punch list of items that we had to work through, but there was no business disruption to really speak of through that transition. So it was a huge success for our company.
That's fantastic. So right there, you have a best practice, right? Plan ahead, create a bubble where you can test your thing. And then the actual migration took literally 48 hours with no business disruption. That's a tremendous story.
Yes. We're very, very happy with the way it turned out.
And do you have any other best practice? So if you had to do this all over again, because people in the audience right now listening, just like you, they're looking at their migration to the cloud. They have maybe a footprint similar to yours. You shared a great best practice. What else would you tell them to do to ensure a successful cloud migration?
Yeah, I think, obviously taking stock of your application inventory, making sure you know what you have, going through the effort to rationalize and remove things that are no longer needed. But then the planning and the testing is just critical. So if I could have done anything different, I think I would have even planned more. There were some tools that we were being introduced to, not VMware, but some other tools that we were being introduced to with Expedient that our team could have probably benefited by learning more about them earlier in the process. But no major criticisms or complaints at all
Because the applications migrated without refactoring, which is a big deal.
Yes.
You change some of the firewalls and some of the infrastructure around the applications.
Yeah, if we would have had to refactor our applications, that would have introduced a tremendous amount of risk. I mean, our test plans would have had to have been much more exhaustive. I mean, we had a great test plan to begin with, but we would have had to occupy a lot more time, not only IT, but the business, in helping us test to reduce risk with cutover. Having that ability to port those VMware servers over into the Expedient environment kind of as is really gave us the ability to reduce the risk that would have otherwise been there.
Now that how long have you been in the VMware cloud now?
So the weekend we did it was July 25th. So we're on about day number 60 or 70 now.
Okay, and it's not that you're counting, but what are the benefits that have you seen once you migrated the workloads in terms of like speed or quality of service? Do you have any colors there?
Yeah, so we immediately our business noticed some improvement in application performance, both interactive loads and some batch processes. We saw some significant gains right away, which was nice to see. So I'd say we're still settling in. There's still some things that we're working through with Expedient, but they threw a lot of compute at us to begin with, just to make sure that we weren't constrained in any way. And now we're working with them to optimize and right size that footprint. But yeah, it's been nice, and we haven't had any significant downtime or any significant issues to speak of either.
And I want to explore another aspect of the migration to the cloud, which is usually the cloud has a set of different tools, and so you have to get your team through training to become proficient in this new technology. So tell me about the training aspect and the skills that you had to up level potentially in your team, if any.
Yeah, the biggest impact was to our security team. Again, with the change in firewall technology, we've had to learn a little bit about a new firewall that wasn't in our portfolio previously. But with the VMware solution, it was just what we were doing before. So there was really no learning ramp up or anything related to those workloads that were in VM. So that really made it a lot easier on the team.
So as far as your team is concerned, nothing has changed. It's just you're using the same skills that you had before, which is fantastic and one of our biggest value proposition. So as you look forward to your next 6 months, 12 months, what are the next step in your cloud journey?
Well, so at Bob Evans, we're part of the Post Holdings family, and we share an integrated supply chain with a sister company of ours, Michael Foods. And so, partnering with that integrated supply chain to understand what our application strategy is going to be, looking out 3 to 5 years is going to be critical. So we've got some efforts on the short term horizon, but as we look out into the future, there's likely going to be some journey to move those ERP workloads into a software as a service. The jury's still out on whether that could be 3 years out or 5 years out or 7 years out, or so those decisions still have to be made. But there's going to be an evolution of moving more and more workloads into a software as a service model, and then I think ultimately most of our ERP footprint will be there as well someday in the future.
So Mike, that's a fantastic story. So to recap, you had 2 data centers, decided to go with Expedient on a VMware platform, create this bubble, and then over the weekend you shut down one data center already, right? And you're about to shut down the next one.
No, they're both shut down.
They're both shut down. So
yeah, we shut them both down at the same time. Well, we left them up for a couple of weeks just in case, but yeah, they've been vacated. There's none of our equipment there remaining, and yeah, so we're all in with Expedient at this point.
That's a fantastic story, and congratulations to you and your team. Thank you for being a customer, and thank you for sharing your story with our prospect and our customers.
Thank you. It's great being with you this afternoon.